joining us. This is our first run of a cooking program for adults. Like Sandra said, we're using the Charlie cart today, which is our little portable kitchen. It has a little stovetop, an oven, all that fun stuff. A couple things I won't be doing, just because we don't have it turned on right now, is I'll explain how to wash some produce and vegetables, but I'm not actually going to do that using the sink. So I'm just going to kind of mimic it a little bit. But just to start off, we are going to be making a quinoa stuffed acorn squash, which is very festive. It's really fun. You get to cut open a squash, which kind of makes you feel like the Hulk a little bit. Just kind of rip it open, which is fun. So we have all of our ingredients. And the main thing to do when you start cooking is first off, wash your hands, obviously. But then when you first start doing any sort of cooking, you're going to want to read through your recipe first. So most ingredients are going to list out what you need or what you need to do to it. So that was attached. The only thing that I forgot to list was these pepitas, which are whole pumpkin seeds. Those ones we're not going to roast just because we can't roast oil in this room. So this has already been done. And then I already measured most of the items out. But we can go ahead and measure the rest of it. So what I'm gonna do first, just for time's sake, is I'm gonna put the quinoa and the water on, just real quick. So this is just a half cup of water and then a fourth of a cup of quinoa. And then I'm gonna put this on to boil first. So that's off, doing its thing. So I'm gonna cut up some of these green onions. And fun fact, some recipes where it says like a green onion or a scallion, they're actually the same thing. A green onion is just a younger version of a scallion. So it said about a tablespoon, so that's more than enough. I'm just gonna toss these in this bowl. And then just a little blurb about knife safety. So what you're gonna wanna do when you're cutting is you're gonna wanna hold, this is a chef's knife. You're gonna wanna hold this with your thumb and pointer finger. So it's just right along the blade, but make sure you're not touching underneath it. And you're gonna wanna let the blade do the work. So if you're chopping something like this, keep your fingers just folded under and just chop. Just move it around and you're gonna move your fingers down. And then a fun fact about these is you can actually put these in water and they'll start growing more. So you can just save these and grow your own. And this has already started boiling. So I'm gonna kind of turn this down to simmer for a moment and give this a little stir. And this is gonna cook for, it's like 10 to 15 minutes usually. Is a good time for that. We just want to make sure that it absorbs all of the water. So like I said before, one of our other ingredients is a pepita, which is a whole pumpkin seed. So this is the inside of the white part of the pumpkin seed. We are roasted and salted. We have some dried cranberries. We have tahini, which is also whole sesame seeds. It's ground up into a real fine paste. Salt and pepper. I have some shredded Brussels sprouts. And to do that, you're just gonna take the Brussels sprout with a box grater, and you're simply just gonna do a nice ground. Just like this. And anything you have left over, you can just take it and chop it up, kind of roll it up. So you're just gonna ground those up. Set that off to the side as well. Add these to the ones I already did. Okay. Give this another stir. This is looking pretty good. And now the fun part is you're gonna cut your acorn squash. And all of the vegetables have already been washed. It's very important to wash your produce before you start cooking, even if it's something like you're not going to eat the outside of this. You still want to wash it. You don't know what's on it, who's touched it. It's just smart to wash. So what you're going to do is you're going to take along one of the seams. You're going to have it so it's not rolling around a ton. And you're gonna take your knife and you're gonna cut down. And you're gonna feel it kind of slide in where it gets to the seeds in the middle. And then you're gonna kind of rotate it. We'll pull it back out because I got it kind of stuck. So I'm gonna do one side, and I'm gonna kind of go around and get the other side as close as possible. So I can really feel when it's going through the seed. So when you get to this point, you're gonna pull your knife out. And this is the fun part, we get to Hulk out a little bit. So you're gonna pull it, and the stem is automatically gonna wanna come to one side or the other. So you can cut that off or leave it. It's really okay either way. And then we're gonna take, so we're gonna take the insides. We're gonna do a scoop out with this little spoon. So you wanna take all of the seeds and the guts out basically. And you can save these as well and wash them out. You can roast them. You can use them in your garden, whatever you want to do. So you want to just kind of scoop. You can see like the darker orange parts. You want to scoop that all out. That's not going to taste as good. So you got it scooped. All right. And then this is going a lot quicker. So I'm going to give this another stir. This looks like it's pretty good. And then once it gets to like this point where there's not water anymore, you can go ahead and turn the power off and add your dried cranberries. And you're gonna give that a nice mix. We're just gonna let that chill together for a minute. So I have this one all scooped out. You can do that to the other side as well. I'm gonna leave this one. So now what we wanna do is we're gonna take our olive oil, which is in this bowl, and we just wanna pour a little bit over our squash, and then you kind of brush it in. If you have a brush, that would be better, but I'm just using my fingers. And then you're gonna sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper. Just give it a little seasoning. And then you're gonna take your squash and you're gonna place it in your preheated oven, which is to 400 degrees, for about like 30, 40 minutes until you can stick a fork in it and pull it back out. So you wanna wait till this is fork tender. And then we're gonna do, so this looks like it's just chilling just for a moment. So you can either also throw your Brussels sprouts in with your squash, or you can just put them in the quinoa. It's good either way. The nice thing about this recipe is you don't have to have Brussels sprouts. It could be any other green thing you like. You can use kale, broccoli, anything else that's kind of hearty. So I'm gonna toss these in there as well. And then give it a little stir. I did a lot of those. Give this a nice stir. Okay. And now we just have to get our garlic. And the nice thing about garlic is it's super easy to peel. You just need a knife. You're gonna hold it on its side. You're gonna press down. And this is gonna take your little skin right off. Another fun way to do it is if you put it in a jar with a lid and shake it up, it also comes out that way. So there's a couple different ways to peel garlic. So I'm just gonna do a nice little cut. Another little tip about knife safety is it's really nice to have a cutting surface, like this cutting board, that's non-slip. You just really wanna pay attention to where your other hand is at all times when you're cutting. I missed one. Okay, so we can put this in there too. So we're basically going to put everything in this quinoa mixture. Then we're going to cut lemon. And it says 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. That's going to be about a whole small lemon, like this size. So I'm going to squeeze that over this bowl with a little strainer. And to squeeze all the stuff out of the lemons, if you roll your lemon before you start squeezing, it's going to get all your juices out. Do the other side. I'm just making a mess, but that's okay. That's one of the fun things about cooking, just cleaning up afterwards. All right, so we still missed a little seeds. I'm gonna fish that out. Okay. And then we're gonna pour our lemon juice right in here. And we're gonna also add our pepitas and our tahini. Tahini is very creamy. It adds a nice extra note to this dish. Okay. And then the last thing that you're going to add to this is just going to be a little bit of parsley. So it says about like a tablespoon or so of parsley. These out of the way. And when you're cutting an herb like this, if it's fresh, so this has already been washed and dried off, if you roll it with your fingers, you're going to kind of make it into a nice little bunch. And then you're going to keep your fingers tucked always when you're cutting, as close to together in a little ball as possible. And you're just going to start cutting. Again, you're really letting the knife do the work, and you're feeding the food through it. So I cut up more than I need, and I'm just going to move it to the next side and try to ball it up again. And this is Italian flat leaf parsley. You can use curly parsley. I cannot tell the difference. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it or use this handy dandy tablespoon. So I'm going to do about half. I'm going to pour that right inside. Then leave this as a garnish at the end. Hands are getting. So we're going to give this a nice mix. And then at this point, your squash would probably be done roasting. So what you would do next is you're going to stuff it inside of the squash. So you're going to put it inside of the cavity. And this recipe has an optional choice of using a cheese, like a goat cheese or a feta cheese. I chose not to add that to keep this a vegan recipe. But you'll put it right in the squash. You'll stuff it, it's about like half. And then you would bake it for about 15-20 minutes. Got the green onions. So we're going to add some of these green onions too. And this is a nice salad just by itself as well. Like you can make this the night before. You can roast your squash, keep them for like 3 days. So it should look kind of like that when you're done. And then you're just going to scoop the mixture in your half, just like that. I'm not going to actually do that because I haven't cooked these yet. And then when it's all done, it should look like this. I need the So when you're all done, after you've roasted it, and then put your mixture in, roasted it again, it should look like this. So it's nice and toasty. Turn that off because it got a little warm. So yeah, that's how you make this dish. And it's very, very simple.